welcome to this new installment of Gimme 10, in which I'm going to spotlight 10 interesting records from the Melbourne electronic and ambient scene. A couple of years ago, I did a Melbourne jazz scene, and I was planning to follow this up with this video, and it took me 2 years to do that, but in case you're interested in the Melbourne jazz scene, the video is up on my channel, obviously. Today, big disclaimer before I start, I am not an expert. If you are one of these artists that I'm going to discuss, and you happen to watch this video, and you think, who is this clown who knows nothing about our music, please know that I'm just an individual with passion, and I love your music, and I want to share it with a whole range of other people who would never access this music because they don't live in Melbourne. And you know, if it brings you another audience, then it's a great thing as well. So a great city is often defined by great labels, and today I want to spotlight for you 3 labels: Butter Sessions Records, Analog Attic Records, and Research Records. Now, there are other labels, obviously, but these are the ones are most represented in my collection. And in these Gimme 10s, I often like to start with a sort of a primer, a genre-defining compilation, just so that you can get into the scene easily, should you want to. And I want to talk about this 3-disc set, BSR, 10 Years of Butter Sessions, Volume 1, Volume 2, and Volume 3 with the ever so excellent artwork. This is a collection of innovative, forward-thinking, diverse, ambient electronic music, mostly from Melbourne, a little bit from beyond as well, which was released to mark the 10 years of the label Butter Sessions Records. It's a label that was founded in Melbourne, or more specifically in Frankston, which is a seaside suburb of Melbourne, southeast of where I am right now, by 2 youngsters called Corey Kikos and Marius Sirewish. They met at high school in Frankston and bonded over their love of electronic music, starting going to clubs, starting getting involved in the scene, and this culminated with them creating a blog called Butter Sessions, in which they talked about their passion for the Melbourne electronic music scene, which led them to form the label as it is today in 2011. The 2 of them record under the alias Sleep D, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. But I want to say that if you want to get into the scene, this has a whole lot of main artists, some of whom I'm going to talk about in the video, and some of whom I don't have anything else from apart from these. So let me talk about Sleep D. Sleep D, here we go. This is an album Flash Glass from 2021. It is Corey Kikos and Marius Sirewish on electronics, keyboards and laptops. And they're joined by the Adlib collective, who are sort of a neoclassical kind of jazz collective. You've got 3 percussionists, saxophones, oboe, viola, and synth on this. So you've got a mixture between electronic music and sort of like modern classical. And if you are into things like Steve Reich or that kind of like neoclassical meets electronic music, this would be a perfect album for you. I think there's much to be enjoyed. For me, it's a classic really of this scene, because it's so fresh, and the you know, every time I play this record, I put it on and I kind of forget about that it's on, and then I always get surprised how good some of the tracks are. I just go, oh, what is this? And I have to go to my turntable. Oh, that's this record. Very highly recommended in this Gimme 10. It was recorded in 2020, as I said. Um, I'm going to talk about a Butter Sessions release, which I really dig. This is Jennifer Loveless with Around the World. Beautiful artwork too, an amazing kind of visually striking. She's a Toronto born but Melbourne residing electronic musician. She makes music which is very akin to very pulsating, driving techno. On this record at least, it's kind of, not quite club techno, but it's in between kind of ambient techno and club techno kind of vibe. This is a 6-track. It's probably more like an EP if I'm going to be honest, but all the tracks are really, they're banging. Really, it's a very very cool record, and just something that came out on Butter Sessions, which I thought spotlighting this wouldn't be, it's not a bad, record to actually talk about. Now I want to spotlight another label called Analog Attic Records, and Analog Attic Records is two guys as well, Alex Albrecht and Sean LeBroy. Together they make music under the moniker Albrecht LeBroy. They also make music on their own names. Alex Albrecht, Melchiades, and Sean LeBroy makes music under his own name as well. Their label is a thing of beauty. It follows a kind of series in a way of ECM, where the aesthetic of the label is overall, the same kind of, you can recognize their records when you see them. I want to spotlight one record in particular for this Gimme 10, but I will show you some other Analog Attic records in this video as well. But I want to talk about this. To me, is an absolute masterpiece. So if these people are watching, if Alex Albrecht or Sean LeBroy happen to see this video, please know this is an absolute favorite of mine. I'm in love with this record. Now, this is called Hillsville. Okay, now we'll explain a little bit. Hillsville is a little township outside of Melbourne. It's not very far from here, actually, where I live. Very, very close. About 20 minutes drive from here. And it's in the countryside, and it's a rural area. There's a lot of farming, lots of wineries there. And the shot that you can see is a strawberry picking field in Hillsville. And they sort of hired a mud brick house, excuse me, a helicopter, or the plane flying over my house at the moment. Helicopter, they hired a mud brick kind of cabin near the field, and they just stayed there for a while and composed music with field recordings, beautiful like bird song, and very delicate keyboards. This is gorgeous. It's an ambient, atmospheric record. You put it on a Sunday morning, you travel to another space entirely. Their previous album, Tidal River, which I've got on download, not on wax, but the moment it gets reissued, I will buy a copy for sure, is also another masterpiece. Maybe some would say better than this, but I don't know. I mean, I think to me they're of the same ilk, and likewise they went to Wilson's Prom, which is a scenic seaside. The people do trails and treks there, and it's just very very beautiful wild nature in Victoria here in Melbourne, outside of Melbourne. And they made this record, this gorgeous record called Tidal River. But this record here, I absolutely recommend to you 100%. It's a masterpiece. Now, I want to spotlight this other Analog Attic record. And this is Citizen Maze. It's called Northern Angelique. This came out in 2020. Okay. And it sounds like what the cover looks like. It's a very dark, brooding, melancholic, textural, nocturnal effort. The atmospheres are very down-tempo, ambient techno-esque. Reminds me a lot of stuff that I hear on Burial Records. This guy, his real name is Adam McCoy. and yes, he's a local from the Melbourne scene, and I love this record, so I want to talk about this record. Um, okay. Um, Now I want to talk about another record which I consider to be a masterpiece. It's this record here, Big Yawn with No, from 2020 on Research Records. So Big Yawn, there you go, is the name of the band. Is a four-piece comprising of synth samples and live drums. So most of what you see is generated, in a synthetic way, except for the live drums, which I am a fan of. Electronic music with live drums is really, for me, where it's at. I really love that kind of texture that the live drums give it, as opposed to programmed drums. This, to me, is an absolute classic. It's from 2020. It's what can I say? It reminds me of things like Kreidler, and there's elements of Krat rock in there too. It's very pulsating again, and very sort of, it just pulls you in. Very engaging music, very highly melodic. You can, I hear things like the future sound of London in there as well at times. I hear, some Aphex Twin, some of the Orb, some Can. It's very, very good, this record, and I urge you to take a listen to it. Big Yawn, a four-piece from Melbourne. I mentioned this record in a video fairly recently, but I want to talk about it again. This is Christopher Port, Total Refreshment of the Spiritual Center. I'm following Big Yawn with this one because this is also a drummer, so this is a composition of electronic music with actual drums. Again, in my last video, I compared this to some of the music made by Kieran Hebden Fortet, and I don't think it's far off stylistically, but it has a more, you've got this kind of jazz kind of aesthetic prevailing, with a very highly distilled, beautiful electronic kind of textural music, ritual music, and this guy, he's from Melbourne, and it's I just think it's a beautiful record, recording between July and November 2019, and released during lockdown, I think. Superb record, ritual music, Christopher Ports. Let me talk about Andrus Fox, or Andrus Wilson as he is known. So here is a record. That's not the record I want to showcase, but I want to talk about this guy. He's also a Melbourne, cultural presence, I'd say. He's DJs on community radio. He's compiled electronic music, for various labels, for Efficient Space, for example. And this is one of his solo release, Vibrate on Silent, which is from 2014. It's an EP, so I'm not going to feature this in there per se, but you could do worse than here. This is really great, sort of Balearic, broken beat kind of efforts. But what I want to talk about is this one here, which to me is the third masterpiece of this Gimme 10. And I'm kind of cheating because it's Wilson Tanner. That's Art Wilson, which is Andrus Fox, same guy, and John Tanner. And this record was made in Perth. It was actually recorded in Perth. So technically he's not in Melbourne, but he's from Melbourne. So I thought, wow, you can. And I want to talk about this record. I think, I would recommend for most people who actually like music to listen to 69 by Wilson Tanner. It's just a gorgeous ambient record. it's delicate, it's sublimely recorded, it's, you know, you've got shades of, you know, I want to say Brian Eno and John Hassel, and, you know, a whole lot of really delicate textural kind of, you know, forefathers just come to mind. This came out in 2000 and, well, this was recorded in 2015 and released by Efficient Space. You can still find this record. Very highly recommended. Beautiful, beautiful record. I've spoken about this many, many, many times, so I'm not going to spend too much time. This is Meng Wang and Team Shiel. She plays the guzheng, Chinese traditional instrument. She's from China originally, and she lives in Melbourne. Team Shiel is from Melbourne, and he plays, obviously, synth and sequences and whatnot. And they've made this sort of mixture of like electronic music and Chinese traditional music, and it's pulsating, and it's just a beautiful driving, you know, record. You know, he's got this kind of, yeah, again, Boards of Canada vibe with, you know, Chinese instrumentation on top. It's called Nervous Energy, and it's really well named because that's what you get there. I saw them live a couple of weeks ago. I love this record. The next record I want to talk about is this album by Prequel. It's called Love It. Love, or I hear you love you like a Heartbreak. Sorry. Prequel is the stage name of Jamie LaRusso Siskind, a Melbourne producer. And I mean, you know, his take on electronic music is more geared to the house. It's got a real house vibe, this record, a little bit of a Brazilian vibe as well. He took his inspiration from a rabbi that said to him, "There is nothing more whole than a broken heart," and so that was the you know, the beginning concept for this record. But it's a really great sort of like, again, lots of beautiful textures. As I said, very sort of, in a way, kind of Brazilian sounding, but very housey. Love this record. And the last record I want to mention is a very recent record, which I absolutely love. Again, that's another masterpiece for me, I guess. That's CS and Kreme with Orange. It's the second record. I'd like to get the first one if I could. But this came out this year, I think. Early this year or maybe late last year. These guys are a duo of you know, Conrad Standish, CS, who plays bass, drum, programming, non-string guitar and vocals, and Sam Carmel, who plays keyboards and electronic. This is very dark, you know, dark ambient meets, again, very lovely driving electronics, ambient. It's got a very lovely ambient quality. So I'll finish with this one, and I hope you enjoy this Gimme 10. Leave me some comments if you enjoyed it or not. Take care, everyone.